That's right. Timber and Stone is back. JPT here. It's been quite some time since we've been back in Timber and Stone, and well, guess what? Version 1.5 badang has been released. It is a beta, so that means this game is still very early in development. This has taken quite some time. The developers have basically gutted lots of the game and started from scratch in many different areas. Settlers react differently to lots of things now, but again, keep in mind there is some stuff in this game that may not be perfect. I may not be perfect. It's been quite some time since I've played this game, but I have sort of gotten off to an early start. There's a couple things that I do to get started. First off, I'm going to zoom all the way out. I am on a very large map. I've got a body of water over here. Luckily, I have a body of water over here as well. And of course, this is the edge of the map. To scroll, I'm using the WASD keys. After starting a map, it gives you the option to do a small, medium, or large map. I prefer to use a large map because that gives you the most resources. Basically, you're going to be able to get a lot of stuff. I highly recommend that you start off looking for a map that has a lot of coal, also iron, and chickens, and boars, and that kind of thing. But again, the three things you're really looking for is a high abundance of iron, coal, and chickens. And as you can see here, we've got chickens all over the place. So that's good. That is good for us. If you you can sort of go across the map with the WASD keys this way, but if you hold down shift while doing that, you go a little bit faster. That is something that I learned and helps out move across the map quite a bit. There are also keys in which you can zoom around and get to your settlers. Here you can click on them individually if you'd like, but I have found normally they're the bracket keys. Those are over by your enter key and over like right next to the P key, those two keys immediately left to that. But I find reassigning those keys to Z and X makes things go quite faster. So again, that will sort of go around your characters. So again, I reassign those to Z and X to kind of go back and forth. So we go from George to Bruce to George to Bruce, or we can just go all the way around. So one thing you also want to do is you want to reserve a space for future building, and I typically always do it in the center of the map. Again, I've got the game paused right now. That's the first thing you want to do. You get into the game, bam, pause it. You just pause it. You don't even worry about anything else because you're going to want to take care of a few things, which I'm about to explain. Today's video, there's probably not going to be a lot of building, maybe even not a lot of building in the second video, because essentially these are things that you're going to want to do to get off to a good day here on the map. So again, you start off day one in the morning. These are your controls up here. And these various menus, there's three at the top, and then there's sort of a secondary one that shows your storage capacity, which I don't look at all the time, but I put it over here on the right just to make it look like a menu as well. Because over here on the left, we'll be assigning a certain number of resources that I like to keep a track of, and I will get to those in just a bit, maybe not in today's video. So just keep it tuned. You're going to get a lot of edumacation on these videos, or at least that is the goal. Okay, so you pause the game, you got all of your settlers, they all start around this various wagon. Basically provides 20 mass for all storage types, which is what we see here. So we've got 20 for tools, armor, weapons, food and seeds. Wheat has its own supply, miscellaneous supplies, building, wood, and mining. You don't want to deconstruct it just yet because we are basically utilizing this as sort of our center of the world. Also, you have a campfire. You always start off with one of those. You can left click on that. You can add logs to it if you have it, or you can remove the campfire. I do not recommend removing the campfire until absolutely necessary. Okay, so again, back to getting to our settlers. You can click on these various menus. This is your information menu. This is your professions menu. This is your inventory, or this is your preferences. You can also get to that by clicking on somebody and hitting F1 or F2, F3, and F4. You can close out by clicking on this here, or if you pull it up, you can hit the tab key. Do not hit the escape key. The escape key brings up the main menu, and that is not what you want in terms of the game. If you hit the escape key, your game will automatically save. That is something that I actually ran into some problems with when the 1.5 came out, but it seems like it's gotten itself figured out by then. Usually you have to wait about 12 seconds before it will save again. It'll also auto-save at certain points of the day, so noon and dusk's dawn and midnight, if I'm not mistaken. So 4 cycles during the day that it will auto-save. So again, you can tab out of that, but we will want to get back into these particular menus, because the first thing you want to do is you want to find your best wood chopper, and that is the designation right here. So, you know, we can cycle through by hitting Z. That's the really cool thing. We can basically keep these all pulled up. And so I designated, let's see, Vincent as my wood chopper. He is a 3 wood chopper, and he is the best. So again, if we cycle through all those, we've got a couple 2s. And you also want to take into account what other good attributes these people have, because you can technically switch between them, but you'll get their morale and stuff all out of whack if you switch between them too much. So again, Vincent, he is our wood chopper. He is good to go. By the way, this game does have women in it. I didn't actually start out with any women, so these guys are out on their own, and as soon as a woman comes into town, well, game on, I suppose. We'll see how good those guys' skills are picking up the ladies. Let's see here. What else do we want to do? So we've got a woodcutter, and then you immediately want to find your best miner. Now, this is a situation in which I actually chose a very weak miner, because I ran into a situation where, well, nobody was a good miner. See, this guy's a decent miner, but look at the farming skill. It's 3. He's actually really good at a lot of other things, so I didn't actually want to waste a good farmer when a miner just going to take a little bit longer. So in this case, I actually am not off to a good start, and that's how I would rank them: woodcutter, miner, and then fisherman is your next person. So again, fisherman is here. We've got a really good one. He is a 3. He's also a really good carpenter. So again, that was kind of a hard call for me. But yes, a fisherman is going to get you a resource really quick, as long as you have a fishing pole, or at least you're able to make a fishing pole. And I will actually show you how to do that real quick. We'll get to this a little bit later, but you'll go under Tools and scroll down and go to Fishing Pole. Now, if you don't have any logs, that's fine. You'll be able to get those really quick. You will want to pray that you get rope right away, because that will actually allow you to build a fishing pole as soon as possible. So I lucked out. We have a piece of rope. We are going to hope that our carpenter does not mess it up and builds a fishing pole, and we can get to fishing over here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we'll send our fishermen over there to do some fishing. All right, so the next thing you want to do is you want to get a farmer. And in this case, let's see, let's zoom around. We've got ourselves a number 3 farmer. So again, there's your farmer. A carpenter is your next thing. So let's see who we have here. Of course, there are more than 8. You start with 8 people. There are more than 8 professions, but these are the ones you want to start off with. He's a good builder and a good tailor. This builder may come into factor later. Also good infantry. So you want to maybe note somewhere. He's also a decent archer. So he may end up being a soldier after a while, as long as we get another person that can take over the carpentry skills. And then carpenter is really good for building tools from the start. Next up is your blacksmith. I do believe we actually started off with a blacksmith, and we didn't actually have to switch him back. An adventurer is a kind of a fun thing they put in the game. I never use it, but essentially it gives you the first person mode to where you can run around your world and look at things, and then also kill mobs, which I've never actually done, which is kind of strange. Take a quick drink. It's been a while since I've actually talked on a video. He's also a good trader, and so I've written that down because that trading skill will come in handy if you ever get a merchant that comes in town. I don't think anybody else was as good as a trader, so again, he will also be our trader. Sometimes I rename people. You can do that by essentially going in here, and so those special skills, I'm going to basically confirm that by calling him my trader, so that if someone comes into town, I don't have to go back here and go, oh my gosh, which one is he? Which one is he? He's a good trader. Also, I may go back and call, I'm going to rename Mike my soldier. So he's my soldier, but, you know, when he's not fighting people, he's also a carpenter. You don't have to do that. The game starts you off with character names. I like to just give them first names. Some of the characters have first and last names, but I don't think you can type a lot in these fields. Plus, you won't be able to get a lot over here. So, again, those are just some things I do. You can also see down here where it kind of tells you what they're doing. So, this is kind of what their current task is, which is a lot of information. Another thing, and I have not checked into this to see how much of a role it plays into 1.5, is that we have traits here. And the traits do sometimes come into factor into who you give certain skills to. So we've got clumsy people here. That sometimes plays a factor into, I think, building things. So again, you are building or crafting items, so user beware, that's not good. But strong back, that usually means that they can work really hard. So we can go through here. Disloyal usually has to do with combat, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think all of these traits are actually built in the game just yet. I'll have to double check with somebody on the forums, which is a great resource to ask questions, by the way. If you just go to timberandstonegame.com and sign up for the forums, you'll be able to get a lot of questions answered there. Miner, he's got bad vision. He's also clumsy. I don't think that's going to be a big problem, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Builder, again, disloyal. We've got somebody that's lazy, that has good vision, which is good for foraging because he'll be able to see things from far away if like a skeleton or some other bad mamma jamma is coming after him. So that is good. That is a good thing to have. And again, lots of talking in today's episode. I just want to kind of explain to those people that are new to the game what is happening. Fisherman, again, clumsy and cowardly. I didn't really get a good crop of guys to start off. Charismatic but cowardly, those don't really go together in my opinion, but hey, it is what it is. So again, didn't really get the best crop of guys to start off with. So again, woodcutter, your first person to go to. You want to get a good miner, then you want a good fisherman if you can, do it, because he's going to get fish and it's going to increase your food supply really quick. So again, food is going to go up. So that is good. Then you're going to want to go for a forager, which is the guy that runs around and gets all your berries and other stuff, which we'll need to change all of our preferences, and I will do that here in a second. Then you want to do a farmer, a carpenter, and then your blacksmith, and then you're going to want to have sort of a designated hitter as a builder or a stonemason. And that is, let's see, who is our designated hitter? Steven is our guy to go to. I lucked out. He's also a good stonemason. So he's my builder and he's my stonemason, but I'm going to start off with a builder because you're going to want to build things before you actually use your stonemason. Okay, so the next thing you immediately want to do after that, your game is still paused, as you can see. It's still paused down here. It's just the P key on your keyboard. Is you're going to want to go ahead and start building resources. And so we have 6 different categories over here. We have raw, which are sort of all your sort of basic building supplies. Then building, which is what you're going to most likely add on to buildings to make them nicer. Crafting are all your metals and your ropes and your cloths and stuff like that. Your tools, pretty obvious. It's the things that you're going to use to build your world or take apart your world. Weapons are all the things that you're going to start off. Ooh, cool. We got 16 arrows and we got a short bow. That is good. Also, we got a sword, but I didn't see any kind of other stuff there. So that's not any good. Let's see here. We got a helm. These are under armor. We've got a shirts. We got a couple shirts. We're not too bad here. It could be better. We'll eventually want to make some boots and other things. But again, these are all things that certain people will wear when they go into combat. But what we are going to worry about first is a tool. Your hunting knife is essential for your forager to have when he goes out, because he'll need to be able to protect himself by basically stabbing sheep, chickens, and stuff like that. He's not really protecting himself. He's getting you food. So again, he'll go out and do boars. I don't think he'll kill sheep necessarily, but I could be wrong. We'll double check that. And of course, he'll kill chickens. And that is very, very handy. After that, you will want to make 5 pickaxes and 5 stone axes. And so what you're going to want to do first is you're going to want to look and see which you have more of. So we have 0 axes, but we have 2 pickaxes, and you're just going to alternate back and forth. By the way, I do want to say here that you will run through these really fast. So again, stone axe, stone pickaxe, you just do 5, so you'll have 10 total. You just alternate until you get to the bottom of the list. Then, again, fishing pole, You'll want to build that. It is down here. At some point, we will need to do a carpentry bench. We will need to build that, designate that area for a carpentry bench because that is what you need. By the time it gets here, we will definitely have enough wood logs for that. Then you're going to want to do, again, a combination of stone hoes and stone axes. Or not axes, stone hammers. And as you can see here, I made a bigger boo-boo. So let me remove those and see, it's going to combine these, which is fine. Now that I think about it, it's not the end of the world. So let's see here. Get rid of those axes. Get rid of that axe and get rid of that axe. Let me make sure I didn't click on the top on that. Nope. Okay. So we have a stone hoe. Let's go ahead and I think we actually already had one, so we're fine. We just want to get up to 5. And we have hammer, but I'm going to go ahead and add 5. So you actually have the ability to add a lot in the queue. You usually don't use these for tools. You usually use these for building materials like planks and other things like bricks and stuff, but that's fine. So again, hunting knife, alternate between stone axes and pickaxes, 10 total, 2 or 5 in each category. Then a fishing pole. You'll want to get at least 5 hoes for your farms and 5 hammers because everybody uses a hammer. I would actually maybe even increase that, but I think you should be okay for that. All right. The last thing we'll do in today's episode is kind of designate a few settings that I like to do on my individual people. Then we'll probably start building, at least in terms of designating certain things in certain areas. Okay, so we've got our miner here. I like to just tell people to wait in the hall while idle because now your people will just wander about. Just to make it look a little bit more realistic, personally, I like to know where my people are. After we designate the hall, they'll stay in there. Also, you can limit the working range to the line of sight for your guy here. He's basically starting off right next to this giant pile of stone. You can do that so that he just doesn't wander off. But for the most part, I usually leave that one alone. The other thing I like to know is when the pickaxe has been broken. So like if this guy is clumsy, there's a good chance he's going to break the pickaxe. That way I can keep track of my resource. Also, resources collected is basically just whenever he gets stone. You really won't need to know that, and it'll show up down here. But what you do want to know is when he's collecting metal ores. That will come in handy. Another thing that you can do to get really fancy is you can schedule their sleep, and eventually we will probably do that. It's something I did in the last season of Timber and Stone that kind of kept people in a good cycle. But for right now, we'll just have him sleep automatically based on how tired he is, and that is your fatigue level right here. So again, lots of preferences for different characters. So we have George here. He is our forager. Now this is the one that has a lot of specialty things here. So we'll zoom in on him right there. He's right there. Wait and haul when idle, sort of. That one I'm not so sure about, so I'm going to keep that one unchecked. But we do want him to gather berries for food, which means he'll run up to these various little berry things. He'll gather them, and then he'll move on to his next task. Whatever he can see, he'll do. So he'll basically run up here, and if he sees that boar, he'll kill that. He'll kill that. He'll come kill this chicken. Basically, it's all line of sight. So again, hunt chicken for food and resources, which means they have feathers. Hunt boar for food and other resources. I think they have animal fat and maybe leather. Don't quote me on that. Also, you can hunt sheep, so that is something that you'll want to do. If you're really curious about what they're doing, you can click on the resources gathered, but I'm not too worried about it. They are pretty efficient on their own. Next up, we have our fishermen. Again, waiting in the hall while idle is probably a safe bet, but also gather fish for food is another one that you'll want to have checked. In this one, again, you don't really need to know when they collect fish. Next, we have our blacksmith. Wait in the hall while idle is a good thing to have right away until you get them their own. If you build like little houses, little stores for the individual people, this won't necessarily be what you need, but you do need to keep in mind that if you have a building around them with a door, they won't walk through that door. Otherwise, they're just going to walk around random. So I think regardless, until you get doors on your individual stores, waiting in the hall while idle is not necessarily a bad thing. Hammer's been broken. Also, crafting failure I like to know about when it comes to certain things, because again, if they craft and they fail, it's going to utilize some of your resources that you may have really needed for something else. So we have our carpenter, pretty much the same as the Blacksmith, wait in the hall. Let me know when your hammer's broken, and let me know when you're a big failure. Farmer, wait in the hall while idle, and let me know when your hoe is broken. They will automatically resupply themselves if you set that to be the preference, or as long as those tools are available. The woodchopper is a little different. You can have them wait in the hall when idle, and then you can independently chop the nearest trees, or you can actually set trees for cutting via the design tool, but we won't get to that in this episode. All right, so let's see here. Axes broken. Yeah, I'd like to know that, and again, don't need to know when resources have been collected. Basically, they will cut down the tree, they will leave the stump, eventually the stump will regrow into a tree. You can remove the stumps if you don't want a tree to grow back where it is. And we are back around to our miner. So we are good to go. That is a sort of rudimentary introduction to getting started in Timber and Stone. I firmly believe getting this stuff started is the way to go. So in the next episode, we're going to designate our hall, which is basically the center of the town where everyone's going to hang out. I will probably do that more so in this area. They'll be close for the resources, and eventually, this will be a little bit of a trek. Maybe we'll get rid of this, but essentially the hall will be located somewhat central in my map. That's the way I like to do it. Also, we're going to run roads to at least all the sides that we can so that migrants and merchants can come in. Then we're going to set some buildings up, some sort of templates up, and go from there. Also, we're going to hopefully get some tools built, as well as designate some areas for trees to get chopped, and I think I'll probably do it more so over here, maybe in the area where I think we're going to build our town. So that is going to do it for this episode of Timber and Stone. I hope you guys learned a little something. I hope you will stick around and see what these sort of introductory things will get you later on in the game. Again, check out the game at timberandstonegame.com. It is available for purchase. It is not on Steam. You can actually basically buy it and download it directly from the developers, and I highly recommend you check out the forums with any other questions or leave comments, and I will see about answering those comments for you as soon as possible. So until next time, this is JPT. Go play your games, and I'll be seeing you.